You're listening to episode 31 of Literacy in Color. Today, we're chatting with MeQuel Bolden, a former elementary educator with over a decade of experience, and she's a dedicated advocate for structured literacy. She's passionate about empowering primary educators, engaging young learners, and helping schools elevate their early literacy reputations. She works for the DC Reading Clinic, where she trains elementary teachers in structured literacy practices. MeQuel is an expert on fluency, and today we're going to get ideas on how to support students in building their fluency. The learning doesn't stop here, though. MeQuel is also offering a special pre-recorded bonus session to the Science of Reading MiniCon conference happening this summer. Her session is called Stop the Robotic Reading: 3 Strategies to Build Fluent Readers. Be sure to check out the link in the show notes for more information about SOAR MiniCon. Welcome to the Literacy in Color podcast. I'm your host, Michelle Sullivan, a Science of Reading advocate with over a decade of experience as a reading interventionist and literacy coach. I'm passionate about making evidence-based instruction both effective and engaging. If you're interested in captivating our learners on reading fluently and understanding language, or as I like to call it, keeping it colorful, then you've found the right place. Each week, we'll explore intriguing lit bits and practical strategies around the science of reading and structured literacy to help you be colorful and teach colorfully. Are you ready to bring literacy to life? Let's color outside the lines and make an impact together. Hello, everyone. We are joined by MeQuel Bolden today. We are so lucky to have her. She's a literacy coach and literacy consultant supporting primary teachers around structured literacy practices. And when I was at the Reading League conference this past October, MeQuel started showing up all over my Instagram feed. And so I started following her, and then I'm like, why haven't I been following her already? So it was a joy to kind of see her on her journey there. But now I'm so excited because this coming July, Heidi Jane is hosting her very first Science of Reading MiniCon conference in Racine, Wisconsin. And I'm going to be presenting on morphology, and MeQuel is going to be offering a pre-recorded session for attendees all about fluency. So her session is called Stop the Robotic Reading: 3 Strategies to Build Fluent Readers. So I'm so grateful to have her on the show today. She's going to give us just a little taste of all the fluency goodness that she has in store for attendees. And here she is. Welcome to the show, MeQuel.
Yay! Thank you. So happy to be here. Thank you so much for the invitation. I'm excited to get the conversation started today.
All right, me too. So first of all, for those of you who don't know you, can you just give us a little brief introduction to who you are, what you stand for, maybe your background around the science of reading?
Sure. So my name is MeQuel Bolden, as you mentioned. I live here in the Washington, D.C. area. So I am a former elementary teacher. I taught for over 10 years within primary grade levels and also upper elementary grade levels. I currently work for DCPS Central Office at the DC Reading Clinic. And so I help them fulfill their mission of training teachers in structured literacy. It's a practicum experience for our teachers. So they're in a grad class that my colleagues and I lead. And they're also applying what they're learning with a student one-to-one. So we also provide tutoring to DCPS students after school that are struggling with reading. And I also work for the Reading League as a professional development specialist. So I help them fulfill their professional development contracts. I help them as they're partnering with schools. And I live here in the DC area with my husband, and we also have a daughter that is in the 2nd grade. And so happy to be here with you.
Well, the 2nd grade is my favorite of all the grades. When I was a school teacher, I taught 2nd grade and absolutely loved it. So that is like the sweet spot, I think, in education. And I love that you work with the Reading League. So that explains your photos with all these big wigs. I'm like, oh, MeQuel knows them all.
Yeah.
And then I actually had Dr. Jasmine Rogers on the show from the DC Reading Clinic as well. And I didn't realize you guys were colleagues until
Yes.
recently, too. So we
Yes.
had a fabulous episode way back, episode 15, Black Language and Structured Literacy. So go back and listen to that one as well. You guys are doing amazing things at the DC Reading Clinic and even beyond DC Public Schools. So love all of the work that you're doing there. So today we're going to talk about fluency.
Mhm.
And oftentimes we think of fluency as maybe just reading smoothly. But can we get a little bit about what's actually happening in the brain when a student is fluent?
Yes. So with fluency, there are actually three components of fluency. So when it comes to fluency, it's about the ability to read the words accurately so that you can understand what you are reading. It's about being able to read the words with a rate like a normal conversation rate. So not too fast and not too slow. It's also about being able to read with expression. And so if the text there is a question being asked, or let's say something, a character may be angry or sad, like we can hear that within your voice. And so those are the three components of fluency. And in order for a student to get to that level to where they can show off these fluency skills, that means that they have a strong word recognition. And so they are strong when it comes to their phonological awareness. Their ability to blend the sounds and segment the sounds means that they are strong when it comes to their decoding abilities. They have a strong letter sound correspondence understanding. They understand phonics, the rules within our language. It also means that they have a large number of words that they know by sight. So there's sight recognition. So there are a large number of words that they know by sight because they've gone through the orthographic mapping process with these words in order for them to know what they see it. And so what's happening in the brain is their strong word recognition skills. And which is good because it's clearing up some mental and cognitive space for them to think more about what they are reading, which is great.
Yeah, I love how you talked about the orthographic mapping aspect
Mm-hmm.
because sometimes we think students have a fluency issue and I have to do fluency strategies with them. But oftentimes it goes back to, like you said, the word recognition piece. We have to get that automaticity rolling
Yes.
before we can address anything else. And so sometimes a fluency issue is actually a decoding issue.
Yes, ma'am.
And we have to backtrack a little bit and pinpoint what the actual need is. So, what are some of the fluency misconceptions that maybe some teachers need to let go of?
So some fluency misconceptions. One is that fluency means read as fast as you can. So it's like speed reading. And that is not what we mean when we talk about rate when it comes to fluency. Rate when it comes to fluency means that you are reading at a normal conversation pace. So not too fast and not too slow. We don't want them to speed read because we really want them to be able to think about what they are reading. And if you're reading too fast, you are not necessarily thinking about what you are reading. And it's important that we are encouraging them to think about what they're reading, which is a key part of reading. It's not about speed. Another misconception about fluency is that fluency is just a primary thing or it's just an elementary thing. Fluency is not just a primary level thing. Like fluency is important for all readers at all ages, at all grade levels. And if you have a student, regardless if they're in upper elementary or in middle school and high school, and if they are struggling with their fluency, it's important that you are spending some time to give them the support that they need. And so fluency is not just, oh, we only do that in primary. No, it's an important part to help our students as readers. And so regardless of their grade levels, it's important that we are giving them the support that they need. And another misconception about fluency is some may think that I'm listening to the student, they can fluently read. That must mean that their comprehension is strong. And that's not always the case. Sometimes we have students that can fluently read, which is beautiful, which is great, but that doesn't necessarily mean they have the strong comprehension skills. I remember transitioning after years of teaching kindergarten to fourth grade. and I'm doing these reading assessments in the beginning of the year. And I'm like so excited because these kids can read. And so I'm so used to dealing with kids that come in the year and they're really struggling, but I'm giving them these books and then they start reading so well. And then we get to the end of the book and I go, okay, so what did you learn? Like, tell me about the book. And they couldn't tell me about the book. And so just because they can fluently read doesn't mean that they necessarily have that comprehension piece. It's important to keep in mind that reading is about, of course, strong word recognition skills, but also about that comprehension. And so they really didn't have the background knowledge of vocabulary. And so there was still work to be done. And so just because you have a student, they're fluently reading doesn't mean that there's not work to be done.
Yeah. And that's to say, when you have more advanced texts and the content gets more sophisticated and you have knowledge that maybe students haven't experienced before, they might be stifled with some things, and that's okay. And I think about myself, if I was to read a medical journal, I'd be a little stifled too, because that's not in my lexicon. I don't have those words as sight words. I don't necessarily know what all of those words mean. I'm thinking even sometimes I go to doctor appointments with my mom and the language that they use, I'm like, I don't even know what you're saying. And my mom's an immigrant. She really doesn't know what you're saying.
Right. Exactly.
And I love what you said about rate too, because I think that's the message a lot of teachers often send to their students when they say, like, time yourself, beat your time. And it's not just about beating your time and being fast. It's like we have to find that Goldilocks place of like not too fast, not too slow,
Yes.
just right.
Yes.
And that's really the important piece of having that conversational. Sometimes when I listen to audiobooks or I listen to podcasts, because mom life, I try to listen on speed 1.5.
Okay.
And then when my husband listens in, he's, oh my God, it sounds like you're watching an auction, like, how do you even understand what they're saying? And I was like, well, if I listen on regular speed, I don't have enough time.
Mm-hmm.
But it's true. If something is too fast, it's just incomprehensible.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yes. And I think that, maybe the speedy reading comes because they have to take these oral reading fluency assessments, which are important, which are good. We need to know, we need to assess them. And there's a timer involved. But that doesn't mean to teach them that they need to speed read. Like, that's not the purpose of an oral reading fluency assessment. There is a timer involved, but it's still important that they are using a normal rate.
Yes, absolutely. And I think the messaging is important with that too. So many teachers, they focus on fluency as this skill that we need to practice. But how can we make it worthwhile our time and something that students actually enjoy doing when we're doing fluency work?
So one way to make it worthwhile and enjoyable is to definitely remember that you as a teacher, you're setting the tone. When you're bringing the energy, that can make it definitely fun. You can like gamify it. There's nothing wrong with using a timer as long as we are encouraging them to use this normal rate. It's not about this unrealistic expectation, but you could.
We like timers.
We do. We're not saying throw away the timers.
Yeah.
What we're saying is make sure the message is clear. And so you can gamify it. You can have them track their practice. And you do definitely want to see progress over time. And can you beat your last time as long as it's in a reasonable goal that they have. And so gamifying it can definitely make it more fun. Another way to make it more enjoyable is just being selective with the text. Like, make sure that you are choosing interesting poems and interesting narrative text. Sometimes narratives provide more opportunities for you to model fluency or for the students to show off their fluency skills in a nonfiction text. So the text that you are selecting, interesting poems, interesting narrative books, also using scripts like a reader's theater, like that makes it fun when they have a role and they're reading their parts. And that's also reinforcing their fluency and encouraging them to read fluently. And another way to make it enjoyable is to keep it short. You do not have to spend the whole literacy block on fluency. There are other pillars and skills that your students will need in order to become better readers and writers. And so keeping it short and focused will also help to keep them engaged and keep it fun as well.
Yeah. And think about the students who read a whole book and then the teacher's like, well, read it again. And they're like, Oh, but that was a whole book. That's hard. So when you have these shorter segments of, like you said, a poem or a passage or just a smaller piece of literature to reread and practice, it's a lot less daunting, I think.
Yeah.
And also, I love the segment about readers' theater too, because it gives it a purpose. You're putting on a performance, you're practicing in order to perform your part. And when you have a purpose in mind too, I think that makes it really special. Actually, did you get the Mega Book of Fluency yet?
Sure, yes, of course.
Of course. We both have our copies.
Yes, ma'am.
I love it.
Absolutely.
I was flipping through. I just got mine recently. Tim Rosinsky and Melissa Cheeseman, I think, they came out with the Mega Book of Fluency, the second edition recently. And there's a whole chapter about making fluency fun with poems and songs and chants. And one of the things I really liked was they talked about doing jump roping chants. And I was like, ooh, when I was in elementary school at recess, we always jump roped and sang songs together. Cinderella dressed in yellow went upstairs to kiss a fella.
Okay.
Yeah. And I was just thinking, how fun would that be for kids to practice in terms of the rhythm and poetry and chanting and these kinds of things? We see that our language has this rhythm. We see that there are phrases and a melody to the way we speak. And bringing these short little bursts, and it's not to say we're jump roping for 90 minutes, but give a little splash of engagement every once in a while to practice these skills, I think is really, really cool.
Yes, I love that. Absolutely.
I know. Early 90s, I couldn't double Dutch, but we had some fun.
Yes, yes.
So now let's get into some more strategies. Do you have any favorite go-to strategies or routines that can help build fluency?
Yes, one go-to strategy that I use is repeated reading. So I do think it's important that they are able to reread a text more than one, being able to reread words more than one time. Some students need that. Like they need those repeated opportunities to read words in order for them to orthographically map the word and get into their sight recognition. And so one thing that I do, like with my daughter, usually on the weekend, I will tutor her, do a lesson. It's usually around a decodable. And during the week, I'll have her reread that same decodable throughout the week. And the reason that I do that is to help her with her fluency. So each time that she reads it, I'm listening for her to improve each time. So I'm noticing that she's going from word, word, word to where she's able to scoop the sentences. I'm noticing that she's able to read more without having to stop and sound it out. I'm also noticing that she's able to read with this expressiveness. And if there's a question, if there's sadness, if there's angry, if there's a character that she want to give it a voice, I can hear that more. She becomes more and more comfortable each time that she gets a chance to reread the text. And so repeated readings is my go-to because it's really important because some students need that repeated exposures before they truly learn that word in their memory.
Yeah, repeated reading should be every teacher's back pocket go-to. And you think of yourself as an adult. If I don't understand something, what do? I reread it. And it's so simple, but it's so true. That's what we have to be teaching our students to do as well. And I love that you do that with her too, because there's so many things that you can coach into. And she's getting the rereading and she's also getting the specialized feedback from you, which is so special. Working on the scooping or working on the expression or looking at the punctuation, and you're giving her this focus. And sometimes students are going to reread and they're going to reread with mistakes and then keep practicing the mistakes. So you're really making sure that she's rereading with a purpose to get better.
Yes. And it's also something that the teachers that are listening can also do. So even with the decodables that you use in your small groups, you can send those same decodables home and have them read with their parent. And so that's also something that you can implement in a classroom right away.
Yeah. And what's maybe one shift that you would recommend teachers can make to change the way that they approach fluency? Maybe something they could even try tomorrow.
Yeah. So strategy that you can try even tomorrow is explicitly teaching your students the components of fluency. And so it's important that you are teaching your students about how fluency is about you being able to read with accuracy and getting most of the words correct. Fluency is about you reading at a normal rate that's not too fast and not too slow so you can understand what you are reading. And fluency is about you reading with expressiveness. And so your voice should go up and down depending on what's happening in the text. If there's a question, if there is someone that is maybe sad or mad, like that should be reflected in your voice. And so right away tomorrow, what they can implement is starting that conversation of explicitly, this is fluency. And that will be helpful to their students because their students want to know like what exactly is going on when you are fluently reading. And so you talking about it, you telling them explicitly what it is will help them to become a better reader once they know what is the goal and what does that exactly look like and sound like to be a fluent reader.
That's so helpful. Sometimes we use these terms and we just expect students to know. Sometimes as adults, we don't know, right? And when you're really painting it out, what does it look like? What does it sound like?
Mm-hmm.
And what are the different facets of it? It helps students get a better understanding and it helps their reading abilities. You can't just put fluency in a box and say, do it. We're going to show them how it can be done. Mm-hmm. So that was beautiful. All right, MeQuel, this has been so wonderful. I know that listeners will want to connect with you further. Maybe they're going to want to see your presentation for Science of Reading MiniCon. I also know that you do offer coaching and consulting support as well. So where can my listeners find you and connect with you?
So I am on Instagram at MeQuel Bolden Consulting. I'm also on LinkedIn at MeQuel Bolden. If you send me a DM on Instagram at MeQuel Bolden Consulting, then I can share with you a fluency freebie. Just DM the word fluency and I can share that with you. My website is www.mequelbolden.com. That's also where you can go to find out more information.
Wonderful. We could link all of that in the show notes. So thank you again for chatting fluency with me. This has been so much fun.
Thank you for the invite.
Of course. Thank you so much for tuning into Literacy in Color. I hope today's episode left you feeling both inspired and equipped with something new to add to your teaching toolkit. If you're enjoying this podcast, it would truly mean so much to me if you'd leave a 5-star review. It helps other educators find the show and join our colorful community. And don't forget to hit the follow or subscribe button so you never miss an episode. For more tips, tools, and resources, be sure to check out the links in the show notes at michelleandthecolorfulclassroom.com. Thanks again for listening, and I'll catch you next week. Until then, be colorful and teach colorfully. Before you go, I want to remind you of the Science of Reading MiniCon conference this summer in Racine, Wisconsin. This amazing event brings together educators who are passionate about research-aligned reading instruction, and I'm so excited to be one of the presenters. My session is called Morphology in Motion, Practical and Playful Strategies to Bring Word Study to Life, and I can't wait to show you the engaging, hands-on ways to make morphology meaningful and fun for your students. You'll also get access to MeQuel Bolden's pre-recorded bonus session, Stop the Robotic Reading, 3 Strategies to Build Fluent Readers, so you can go even deeper into fluency with fresh, actionable ideas. This is the perfect opportunity to connect, collaborate, and get re-energized with practical tips you could bring straight back to the classroom. Spots are limited, so check out the link in the show notes to see the speaker lineup and to grab your ticket. Let's learn, laugh, and grow together. See you in Racine.